known for a long, long time how our gut really does respond to our mental state and feed into it. So behavior, behavioral manifestations that may affect your body, and just in general how your behavior may affect your body, and your behavior in your body may affect your psyche, but your behavior is coming from your psyche. These all are interplaying within each other constantly. And that's something that's really interesting to me. I think it's really cool, and I also think it's really helpful for every individual to understand that interplay, even if you don't plan on being a counselor. Sometimes it just really helps you be more mindful and in tune with yourself, to understand that you are, in and of itself, a holistic model. No matter how you apply counseling or medical intervention, we're really all functioning as a holistic entity composed of many different amazingly functioning small pieces. So for clinical applications, one of the most common ones used is conscious breathing practices. So this quote is from a journal article that I found, main author Victoria, published 2017. And I think this quote really helps to kind of understand why they do this approach, or just to give you guys some technical applications, or tangible things that you can be like, what are they doing? So this quote says, the conscious breathing practices can improve immune function, regulate arousal, decrease sinus problems, balance hormones, enzymes, neurotransmitters. It can stabilize blood gases, increase vitality, promote digestion, improve circulation, improve organ function, facilitate metabolism, align posture, decrease muscle tension, increase motility, increase movement efficiency, etc. So it shows how these mind practices can really affect the body. And then in turn, if you relieve tension and you improve all these aspects of the body, that's going to have profound effects on the mind. So it's kind of this circular motion of you improve the body, and the body will improve your mind right back. So, it's kind of that idea that you improve mood, you improve emotion, you improve the body, you improve mood. All of these go in a cyclical nature, but it just shows that they really go hand in hand, and they're important to take into account together rather than separately. So besides breathing, you might, find and release points of tension, as I mentioned, or you might try to look at your behavioral impulses, manifestations, try to identify maladaptive bodily responses rather than just cognitive responses. So some pros and cons in general of this specific type of psychotherapy. So some pros, that really just focus on each individual. It's so specifically tailored to each individual. And I think that's something that's really awesome. It takes the best from each approach, because if you in body psychotherapy, you still can do any type of approach you want while integrating this bodily component. And that's why it's really under the umbrella of integrative psychotherapy, because it's body psychotherapy plus everything else we've learned in class. So it's all about guiding the client. It really avoids insertion of the counselor's input. And it's really different than other forms of integrative psychotherapy. It's really unique, and I think that might be really awesome for some people who are resistant to traditional forms of psychotherapy. There's a really strong therapeutic alliance in this therapy. They are in it together. The counselor is feeling what the client is feeling. They are completely involved in their healing and movement process. They're physically guiding them through their journey. It's like almost more of like a shaman type of experience. Not exactly, but that's kind of how I like to compare the counselor. Rather than being more of a doctor, they're more of a spiritual guide. And that might just be my interpretation, but I think that's a helpful way to understand it. Some cons is, always there's this disbelief involved. Like, did I experience a mental trauma and that's why my neck hurts? Or did I just sleep on my neck the wrong way? People are always going to be skeptical of how this stuff works out. And that skepticism is really, really hard to evade if you don't really have biological evidence or, solid, concrete reasons and rationale behind why this works. Like, the spirit is important, obviously, but you can't rely on spirituality. It can also be too intimate for a client to feel comfortable, the client really has to let themselves go in this context. So it might be really hard for them to do so. Everybody, I think, can personally grow and learn to be more comfortable, but some people, it might not be it for them, and that's okay. And as I previously mentioned, the lack of validity pertaining to spirituality, we can't really research spirituality as much as psychologists have tried. It's really hard. If you don't believe in spirituality, if you don't connect or resonate with some spirituality, you don't identify as spiritual, it might be really hard to embrace that component. But fortunately, you can really tailor this approach to anyone. And if need be, you can kind of dampen the spirituality aspect while heightening the other parts that might resonate more with them. So here are my citations. I will send them along. But thank you so much for listening. I hope you guys learned something. And if you're interested, feel free to further research it. I'll put these citations up a little closer so you can pause, take a look at them. I have a link to a website here, a couple books that I looked into. But yeah, thank you guys so much, and I hope you're all doing well.